Now, I wanted to address somebody who just kind of appeared on our radar around the COVID, I call it the COVID era now, 2020. She seemed to have come from nowhere and suddenly she was everywhere. And I call her Misinformation. She of the dodgy CV. She's been shortlisted for yet more awards. I am talking, of course, about the BBC's Miss Marianna Spring, an inexperienced journalist who rose from absolutely nowhere to become the BBC's head of disinformation reporting. Her latest potential award is an Arias Industry Award for towing the line, frankly. And she exclaimed with great delight, "I'm delighted to be shortlisted for Best Speech Presenter. And it's for her BBC 4 pods, Marianna in Conspiracy Land and Why Do You Hate Me?" because she always plays the victim. And Americast on BBC Sounds. She says she loves doing them. Well, yes, but at great at great expense to others. You see, despite being in charge of disinfo, curiously, she doesn't appear to have given herself the treatment of checking for wrong information because there's a big fat question mark over elements of her own CV. But let's not allow the suggestion of a lying CV, which many of us have done, to get in the way of the girl from Sutton. I made a video about her. It was based on her being a gatekeeper for the media establishment, and that's available on YouTube. But for the benefit of our viewers, I thought I would shine the spotlight today, this Good Friday, on a journalist whose job is to go after those questioning the status quo, a sort of modern day witch hunt, the like I'm sure that Jesus would have recognised. Marianna Spring is the BBC's first ever disinfo reporter. For one so young, she's under 30. She's been given a huge, substantial amount of responsibility, lots of responsibility. She's not worked her way up. It's almost like she's been put in place. And that precisely is why she first came to my attention. I knew she had authored several damning pieces demonising people who had been publicly questioning C19 narrative, including TNT's own Kate Shemirani. What I didn't know at that point was what an intriguing figure young Marianna would turn out to be. She was head girl at Sutton Grammar School. She was chosen not only to be the ball girl at Wimbledon, but also to give flowers to Queen Elizabeth II. At grammar school, she was involved in a young journalist programme. She studied French and Russian at university and wrote for the student newspaper Cherwell. She spent a year in Russia contributing news articles to the Moscow Times. She undertook work experience at the Guardian and Private Eye. The official story, and this one, it really takes a lot of stretching, honestly, is that she entered the BBC via referral from a Guardian journalist to then BBC Newsnight presenter Emily Maitlis. And we are actually expected to believe that a junior journalist who didn't know the BBC was suddenly brought in by one of the BBC's main talents. What about all those other trainee journalists who are working at the BBC waiting for their big break? At the start of 2020, as I say, she was appointed to the BBC's first specialist disinformation and social media reporter. And of course, it was at the start of C19. Then there's all the various acknowledgements that she's had so quickly. Forbes, 30 under 30, barely a year after she acquired her disinformation role. She won an Innovation Award. I mean, she's actually won many, including to do with Talent of the Year at the Royal Television Society's Journalism Awards in 2023. Her spiel is the human cost of conspiracy theories. As we know, she absolutely targeted Richard D. Hall. And when you have the might of the BBC going after an independent reporter like that, well, it's inevitable that it ended up in court, really. She says her job is to counter the online conspiracies that create real-life harmful impact. But what about the harmful impact of a Marianna Spring? And as I say, she targets people. You can tell she's not on the side of the people. She interviews people like Anthony Fauci. Who gets to interview Anthony Fauci unless they are part of the media establishment? And she has just recently published a book in which she played the victim and was paid very handsomely for it. So Marianna Spring, she doesn't need any more awards for which she hasn't really earned, but she does need watching. That doesn't make us trolls for doing so. It makes us discerning and knowing that in the land of the truth, there are many infiltrators. And on that note, let's have a look at the UK headlines with Gemma.
Keeping the commitment.